everyone can kind of.
Alright, so I'm Darren.
My name is Paola.
And we're here today to speak about consent. This is a very important issue. I'm not sure who raised your hand if you've been to a Sexploration or CERRU event in the past. Awesome, so like a fair few of you. So yeah, this is a topic that's very important.
So just to give you guys a little bit of an outline, we're going to do an activity, but I noticed everyone's eating. So we're going to cover all the information and then do the activity last. So just give everybody a chance to kind of, eat in peace and enjoy the food. A lot of the stuff has been covered already, so we might go over it a little fast. If you have a question, please raise your hand right away. Like, we would love to answer all of them. Okay?
Alright, so a little bit about who we are. We are the Queens College Sexploration and Information Group. We were developed, with the goal of, right. So we were developed with the goal of helping the Queens College community engage in safe, consenting, and satisfying sexual relationships. We do this, we serve our community by handing out surveys, putting on events, and through those surveys we get information on what our community needs or wants to see or what they're interested in. And then we put on events like these. And those events help people, with information, helps them, it helps them learn about, things that might be difficult to speak about. Okay, so first question, what are you hoping to discuss today? Why did you decide to come to this workshop?
So consent and blurred lines. Everyone feels like, okay, I know consent. So why are you here? Is there a question you want us to address? Maybe anybody?
Specific thing that's just like on your mind.
Yeah.
I guess just because it's such an evolving term, and I'm wondering where it is at now and where it would be in the future and if it's ever going to remain static.
What's your name?
Melissa.
Nice to meet you, Melissa. Anybody else?
Sometimes, okay, it's gonna get personal anyway. Sometimes when it's more on the boundary side, because sometimes you can't say no and it's not taken. Like, how can you come off as more serious as well? Because even when you do say no, people say, why don't you just say no? But you just say no and it's still not clear,
Right, so the blurred lines are the kind of like the aftermath, the victim blaming. Awesome. Thank you, Christina.
Go ahead. You go first.
Sure. So I'll have you then, Christina.
Okay, I guess I want to also speak about the kinds of things that would require consent, because maybe sometimes it's not clear as in what kinds of things need consent, or is there something you just feel comfortable asking in more broader terms than just say maybe for a certain action or even just a certain exchange, you don't know if you need to ask or give consent, but that's also necessary.
Thank you so much. What's your name?
Addie.
Addie. Thank you, Addie. And another Christina.
Yes, I just think ever since I transferred to Queens, I've been so inspired by the bold work of Sexploration. So I'm curious to see the kinds of questions that you guys have gotten from QC students in the past, and what you think are the most pressing issues on campus related to sexual health.
I think one of the awesome things about our research group is we don't decide that. You gotta decide that. We decide, okay, it is true that we decide, what questions to ask, which is why it's great when we have new voices, reminding us, hey, no, that could be a great question. But really, we hand out the surveys and then everyone else gets this, we even give you an option if you complete a survey, like other things that we may have missed that you may want to chime in on or have a discussion on.
And I'm also part of the Faculty Student Disciplinary Committee, which serves Title IX cases on campus. They're sexual misconduct cases. So I have a very unique perspective on where consent is to answer Addie a little bit. So I hope to we can cater to you throughout the so thank you guys for sharing.
So guidelines for this space. This is very important. Basically, safety first. You have to, know yourself. If something is going on where you are uncomfortable, if something here is creating a bad reaction in you, please just raise your hand. Either myself or Paola will let you out. We'll let you do yourself in, because that's the most important.
Carmine, can you raise your hand? Carmine is for our exploration. If anybody needs just a timeout, because some of the stuff here could be triggering and can make you kind of like, if you need to talk to anyone, just reach Carmine. She's also the president of the Queens College campus. So she will, she got your back.
Otherwise, we just have a few guidelines to follow in terms of discussion. So first and foremost, say what you mean, but don't say it mean. So essentially, don't lie, be honest, but you don't have to find the most derisive way of saying what you're saying. Consent means permission. Ask questions, please ask questions. No means no, which is very important, especially given the topic we're speaking about. Confidentiality, we're following the Vegas rule very strictly here. What happens in the consent workshop stays in the consent workshop, except the practice of consent. Please don't let that go. Please don't let that sink in. And finally, don't yuck my yum. So essentially, if you think something is awesome and someone else finds it gross, if you find something gross, don't say, "Oh, ew, come on." Everyone's entitled to the things they enjoy, even if you don't like them. Just yeah. Awesome. So first question of the night: what is sexual assault? Does anyone have, from their own knowledge, like a brief intro to what this might be? We've heard some testimony, so you likely all have a well-informed idea. But does anyone want to?
This was talked about a lot in the.
All right,
So
cool.
essentially, sexual assault is basically the umbrella term.
Right, so it's defined here as sexual assault is any unwanted physical, verbal, or visual act that forces you into sexual contact or a sexual situation that you did not, consent to. It's against your will. It's motivated from, a need to harass, it's a need to control, manipulate, and often a need to harm. And it can come in many forms. It can come in the form of harassment, it could be rape, it could be incest, oral sex, molestation. If someone forces you to pose for pictures that you did not want, that's also sexual assault. Or just unwanted touching. So, and rape, we alluded to it before, and we alluded to it as well. This is just another form of sexual assault. It's a specific form. It involves force, manipulation, or coercion into penetration of vagina, anus, mouth. And it doesn't have to be, it could be penis and another object. And it's not a crime of passion, which a lot of people will tell you. It's not a crime of passion, it's a crime of violence. It's an act of violence. And, most survivors know their perpetrators. Which is another myth, that you likely don't know the person. You likely do know the person, in fact.
And sexual assault, like I said, is the umbrella term. Rape is specifically, a type of sexual assault.
Correct. Okay, so.
So what is consent?
All right, so has anyone
seen the T video? Can you just raise your hand if you have?
If not,
Can you raise your hand if you have not seen the T video?
That's a fair people.
Okay, so should we play the T video?
Yeah.
It's an awesome video! It's great. I'm gonna take it.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
And you're able to understand when people don't want tea, struggling with consent. Just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, fuck yes, I would fucking love a cup of tea, thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes, please, that's kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And you can't answer the question, do you want tea? Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. If you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
Yeah, so it's a fun video. And for, oh, wait, hold up. Wait, go back. Yeah.
Okay. So consent is clear, it's unambiguous, it's voluntary, right? It's not something that you have to convince someone to give you consent. It's exciting, so it's like, yes, I want to do this. It's not like, okay, I guess, like that's not consent. It is not the absence of no. So if someone doesn't say no, doesn't mean that they consented, right? It is not assumed, it is not coerced. So like I said, it's not like you have to convince someone to say yes to you. It is not an obligation.
Right, so, oh.
Yes.
Yeah, so we picked out some of the really fun ones, but what are some of the motivations for having sex?
Yeah. Why do you guys have sex? If you have sex. Anybody?
You may want to.
You want to, okay.
Because you love each other.
Because you love each other, love, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the 50 reasons.
What's the question?
Why do people have sex?
Because you're attracted to each other.
Because you're attracted to each
You
other.
don't have to love them
So actually, this is from How I Met Your Mother, I believe.
Yeah.
They came up with 50 reasons why people have sex. And some of the very interesting ones are, it's halftime, if you watch football. You just shaved your legs. You have a new couch.
one of my favorites is you finally get a chance to show your childhood bedroom some action. I mean, like.
Yeah, there's, they came up with 50 reasons, and the last one was love, right? So why even bring up the reason why you might have sex? So your, how can I say this? So your motivations for sex can influence the way that you look at consent, right? So if you want to have sex because you love someone, you're very likely to kind of like make sure that person, has your consent, right? If you don't really care about the other person, you kind of just want it for your own pleasure, you might be waiting for the sign that you want to get from that person just to kind of get there. So that's just something to keep in mind, like why do I want to have sex? And then active listening skills. So this pretty much entails like learning your partner's language. So what do you like? Where do you want me to touch you? Do you still want to do this? Is this okay? Do you need a break? How does this feel? it's not just reading the verbal cues, but we're reading the nonverbal cues. That's like the most important part. And if anything changes at all, the energy just changes, just stop, right? Don't continue. And just constant communication, right? Checking in constantly.
Yeah, a good rule, if you're feeling comfortable, you feel like Paola said, if anything feels different, and you feel like, I'm not sure if this is still something the other person wants. It's not a bad idea to check in, to stop and check in, like, okay, how are you doing? You know, how are you feeling about it? And it's part of just building a relationship, even if it's, no matter the reach. So,
How are you guys doing with food? Good, thank you.
We're ready.
we're ready?
We're ready.
Wait, is there a place I can charge my phone? I don't know. It's dead and I need to.
Wait, well, let's see.
That's real.
Interesting.
But is there, oh yeah, no, there are two extra outlets if you're charging for a small amount.
Okay, so okay. You know what, I didn't do that. So let's skip it and then come back to it. So I'm gonna, this is interesting, but I need anyone to sanitize their hands. So just pass it around. Thank you.
Alright, so for now, we will speak about some of the dicey topics around consent. And this is often where people start to consider some of where the lines maybe start to blur and people start having legitimate questions. And some of those legitimate questions, people don't want to ask because it feels awkward. Well, that's why we're here, to speak about these things. So, yeah.
Draws, inebriation. So let's be real. A lot of people like to kind of like talk over maybe a drink or so, right? It makes it easier to we're not afraid of each other. Because you have one drink or two and you're happy and you're excited or whatever, it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden cannot consent to sex, right? However, if you have a slurred speech, you can't stand on your own, you can't walk properly, you probably shouldn't, that person probably is not in the, right set of mind to consent to something like that, right?
Right. So, I mean, a good rule of thumb for me, I like to say, is the critical decision test. If you wouldn't trust yourself to buy a car, if you wouldn't trust yourself to just do something that is potentially, risky to you, you aren't in a state to give consent. If you can't drive at all, you can't get consent. If your speech is slurred, if you can't walk in a straight line for a foot or two, then definitely not. But yeah.
Yeah, and again, if there's any doubt, any confusion, any mixed message, don't do it.
Alright, so in Europe there are unique disability consent laws. So someone who is physically helpless, as in they may be on a state where they are in a coma or they're physically unable to do anything. So a person who is physically unable to indicate a lack of consent, meaning that the victim has a physical disability that makes one unable to physically or verbally communicate lack of consent. The second part of this is mentally disabled. A person suffers from a mental illness or a condition that renders them incapable of understanding the nature of the conduct. So
pretty much, when it comes to disability and consent, if the person has a disability that does not inhibit their cognitive ability to consent to something, then pretty much, consent can be granted. However, if the person has a cognitive disability, therefore, like in their mind, they might be a child, right? And they don't understand the conversation of sex. What is sex? What are the risks surrounding sex? Then they possibly cannot consent to sex. This is a very dicey topic. Like I said, there are people who are called sex surrogates, and they actually dedicate themselves to providing these kind of services for people with special needs that can consent.
What do you mean they provide them? So they navigate the consent part?
in some cases it's that, in other cases they will stimulate their genitals to let them experience on that level of release or something. And it's a thing that they have to be able to actually consent to, but it takes different forms.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's just a person, if they're unable to speak, they'll be like, okay, so this person is saying that, yes, I do consent and they're being my auditor, or it could be more direct. Okay, so another third one, unenthusiastic sex.
So first we tell you that sex is enthusiastic, right? I mean, consent is enthusiastic. They have to say, yes, I want to have sex with you. But what if, you know, we talk about unenthusiastic sex? Can it be consensual,
Is there
right?
any situation where that's consensual or not consensual? And it turns out there is a bit of a dichotomy. Consensual unenthusiastic sex is something of a situation where if it's not harmful for you, like for example, you're tired and they are, you know, they want to have sex, and it's not damaging to you, and you're just like, oh, I want them to have their sexual release, so I can go to sleep, and hopefully they can go to sleep, and I in no way feel like I'm damaged by this. You can consent to that. So if your yes and no are respected in that case, let's say it's the opposite and you really don't want to do it, if the other person would give you your respect and say, okay, if you said no, that's no, that's it. That is good, and this is more common in already established sexual relationships. And it's a very personal decision, obviously. Now, on the flip side, where this goes into sexual assault and rape, it's when, let's say it's the same situation, if your partner is coercing you, and they're constantly saying, oh, come on, do it, come on, please, I can't go to sleep otherwise.
And you initially
you're-
said no, and they're
Exactly.
kind of like convincing you to say yes, and then you end up saying yes, that's not consensual.
Right. And that sort of behavior is damaging, and the act is unwelcome. So, and this can happen in any relationship. It's a common misconception that this is a thing that happens in just one time, like for example, between people who don't know each other, between people who do know each other. This can happen anywhere. There's a large marital domestic violence issue, and it can fall into that, but it can also fall under people you don't know as well. Right, so if you want to go back to
Where's the hand sanitizer so far?
Right.
Awesome, okay, so we could look to improv.
awesome.
Okay.
We got a fun activity for you guys together.
Everyone has eaten and everyone's awake. Okay, so I just need this, did that table get hand sanitizer? No. Okay. Throw it over there. Okay, so the purpose of this activity is to navigate what makes getting consent easy or what makes it harder. Okay, so this is what you're gonna keep in mind the whole time. Okay, this one is base. Okay, so this is that state when you use hand sanitizer.
The last
Okay,
table
awesome.
has been deleted. That
Yes.
is,
So shake it off, make sure they're dry. Everybody's good? Okay, we ready to go? Yeah?
awesome.
So get up and shake hands.
Yep.
What was the question?
Everyone get up.
There's no question.
No, you said one.
Oh, this is lit.
What makes getting consent easier or harder?
Mr. President. Mr. President.
What is it?
Hello.
ask, like, because, like, if you were smiling, people approach you with their
Okay,
hands
you guys are getting ahead of the workshop.
Okay.
Exactly.
All you have to do is share. Okay, so we got sevens, we got it was fun and twos. Okay, so it was interesting. Awesome. I'm gonna ask you guys to do a second handshake. This time I want you guys to verbally negotiate the handshake. So do you wanna go up? Do you wanna go down? Side to
I've
side?
never heard of that before, but trust me, I tried to look for Paola the other day. It was weird. It didn't feel right, but okay, so that's what you want to do.
How firm do you want it? That's from a scale from 1 to 10. Do you wanna do a fist bump? Do you wanna kiss? No tongue, no mouth, on the cheek. So go ahead, negotiate. Have fun. So how was this compared to the first handshake?
Scarier.
It was scarier. How was it scarier?
You have to ask.
You had to ask. Okay. Did anyone prefer the first handshake? Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Awesome. This is gonna be the last handshake. This time I want you guys to do less verbal, more non-verbal. Okay? So look for body language. Does this, so try to make it, somewhere between the first one and the second one. Make it fun, make it spontaneous. Try to negotiate without
Saying necessary.
yes. You can try, but try to limit it a little bit. Okay? This is the last one. Go ahead, have fun.
Sure. Oh, this is fascinating. I made it. That was smooth.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah? Okay. So I have a question. How was that one compared to the first two?
I don't know you went over there and I'm shy, so that was hard.
So somehow when it was spontaneous, you were able to approach strangers, but when you have to communicate, you kind of have to like stick to people that you know. Okay, that's easy. Okay, anybody else?
I feel like when you're with people like you know more trust, you're more open to communicating more specific things.
Okay.
I think it's more vague when you're just with the standards.
Did anyone find themselves getting more adventurous with people they knew already? Like trying different sort of weirder handshakes?
Yeah, I was gonna add to that. Like, I feel like everyone who's been in their own table, like,
Stuck to the table.
yeah, and just like, for example, her and I were like this, and like him and I were just like, but it's like everyone's been, I mean, about except for her, she went along. But like, I feel like everyone's, we're already like drinking for like, a few minutes already, and we're already okay, like.
How did you guys communicate? Can you play that back in your head? Like trying to non-verbally communicate. What did you look for? What did you notice?
If my hands were out like this and someone didn't do this, I'd be like, all right, no.
Okay, yeah, that was a very big one.
I guess eye contact, like facial
know to turn the other way.
This one was really funny because we got a, wait, what does that one mean?
Yeah, we were having our communication wasn't, we tried once or twice, and then the second time, we were like, okay, you're on the right now.
Okay.
For our handshake.
How did you guys communicate? Was it easy? Was it easy or hard to communicate?
I think it's harder non-verbally, obviously, but like, cause I could look at someone, but that could be my no.
What did you look for? Like, what did you pick up so that you could refer someone other than smiling, right? Anything else? Any body language?
Nodding.
Body language. What about body language? So just facial expressions?
Or maybe they were like.
What about like, I don't know. Okay, awesome. You guys did great.
A little too good, honestly.
Okay, so go back to the last third.
Yeah. But no.
Third hand.
Oh.
Yeah, stay there.
This is, no, yeah, you see, because we went
You
back.
you can say that one, that's fine, okay. So the first handshake, right, that's kind of like, a lot of people have first handshake sex, right? So it's kind of like what you expect the first handshake to be like. It's fun because it's spontaneous, it just kind of happens, it's less negotiating. So that may not be good for some people, the fact that you don't get to negotiate what you want and your needs. And it's kind of, it just goes on the script, right? So that's the first handshake. You kind of just go on without checking in if everybody's okay, etc. The second handshake, it's like more difficult because you have to like negotiate everything. If sex was really like a real estate deal, you have to negotiate every single little thing from the point like, where do I kiss you? How long do I kiss you? Do you want me to touch you? Who takes off the clothes, from who? It would be just too difficult. It's just not, it takes away all the fun from it, right? Everybody was like discouraged when they had to like, negotiate. The ideal one is the third handshake, right? Some non-verbal, some verbal. So it's just like really paying attention to your partner and making sure that like they're in the same page as you, checking in constantly, making sure that it's mutually pleasurable, and looking for kind of cues like, oh yeah, a little softer, a little harder, whatever it is that you're looking for. And not just looking for the cues that you want to look for, just making sure that everybody's okay.
And again, a little thumb, if you're confused, it may be a good idea to just ask. Or
Yeah. Any questions so far? Anyone?
so
Yeah.
alright, so why is this topic so significant? I'll start with the first one. So why do you guys think this is a very, or maybe you don't, I doubt that, but why is this topic significant? Anyone have any guesses?
And why do some people report it and others don't? Any kind of like sexual assault cases?
Communication is difficult.
Communication is difficult. Can you elaborate?
I think like if you don't talk about it, someone won't ever know. Like it's difficult. Like you have to like go through trials and like you have to see what people like, what people don't like. So it's very messy. So you have to talk about it so you could unmessy it.
Okay.
And some people also don't know like the lines of consent. They're like, was this sexual assault? Was it not? I mean, I said yes, but I was coerced into it. Like that type of thing.
Yeah. So actually, if I could just make a small reference, in FSDC, a lot of the cases that we see, they're not like easy cases. Well, they're not easy at all, but they're very difficult cases because they're often around the blurred line. It's always mixed signals. It's always like, it's not clear. So if people could have just communicated a little better in those cases, they wouldn't have been in front of like an FSDC hearing. So yeah, they're never that clear.
Alright, so is there anything that you guys want? Oh, awesome.
Do you think that if, not just people who choose to come to events like this, but people, like if they just would teach it throughout the public education system, we would have less cases?
Absolutely. I think that the educational system failed us when it came to sex ed, which is why I'm so passionate about it. I mean, who remembers their sex education in school? And someone described it to me. It was getting told a STD and then you have to research it. And then you have to present it to the class and then they'll get pregnant. Yes, and then mean girls tell me don't get pregnant because you will die. Alright, so did you guys anybody learn about consent in sex ed? You know, so I think like, I think Robina said that, one of the speakers, that the sooner that we're able to teach children consent and what's wrong and what's right, I think that the much lesser chance of something going wrong would happen. So, absolutely, I think that's a very big one. Anybody else? Anything else that we didn't discuss?
Well, talking about like the sex ed thing, like I have a little cousin, she's 13 now, and I was asking her like how's school or whatever, and she mentioned how they're teaching her about like, well, she said her health class, and I was like, what do they teach you? So she was like, sex, suicide, like a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, whoa, like, but like obviously I didn't answer, so I was like, oh, like what do you think about it? And she gave me like a very like wanting to be smart, like, oh, I'm not gonna have sex, I'm 13, or like I'm not gonna commit suicide, that kind of thing. So I think like if you have like cousins or like family members that are younger, like they might be getting these things taught to them, but it's still comfortable because it's not coming from like someone they trust or like someone they know, and they're in the setting of like kids, so they might take it as a joke. So what I told her, I was like, I'm glad that you're not gonna do this yet, but like you need to understand that it's gonna happen, and like maybe one of your classmates are gonna go through things, and you need to be open to like helping and having those conversations. So I think it could also start there, like it should start at home as well. And then of course in the education system.
I think that, you know, the way that it's set up, it kind of puts some kind of value on not having sex, right?
Yeah,
Because everything that they teach is very negative. There's no kind of healthy or positive, you know, or any positivity on sexuality when we teach it and when we learn it through the educational system. So it's like she was probably pressured to say like, I'm not having sex with you, like, you know, like I'm valuable, like I'm the good girl, you know. So I think that's definitely important, like the fact that we don't teach any positive sex ed as well. We only teach like STDs. Pregnancy and, you know, whatever else, you know, so that's very important.
How do you say no confidently?
How do you say no confidently?
I would say it's never, I mean, some people take to it much easier than others. Some people are just like, no, that I know exactly what I want, I know what I don't want, and some people just naturally do that. But if you're not one of those people, it's just practice. You just have to practice, yeah, just like, no. I mean, even for me, I know I'm a person, I have hella trouble saying no. But, you know, just you have to practice doing and know that, I mean, sometimes it stems from a thing where it's like, I don't think like I'm worthy of saying no. I feel like the other person, they're more forceful, they're more powerful, or, you know, you'll start taking it on yourself, but you're supposed to know, you should know that you're worthy enough to say no. I don't want this, and you should respect that. And maybe if you are the person who doesn't respect that, maybe I should speak to someone else. So it's just practice, I would say.
What's the difference between persuasion and coercion?
I wouldn't draw that much of a big distinction. I mean, if I say no and you persuade,
I feel like the difference, I mean, it's not like an enormous difference, but a difference would be like persuasion. You would say, okay, so, you know, I'll do this for you. You know, you speak to someone, and you're like, okay, cool, so let's just keep doing your persistent. And coercion could be like, you could even threaten. You could like, hey, okay, so I have this dirt on you, like blackmail. Like, I have this dirt on you. If you don't do this, I'll get into it. So coercion can sometimes be more violent, but they do overlap a lot of the time. But yeah, I feel like coercion is more like, I will damage you, you know.
coercion is a little bit more aggressive, I would say. Persuasive, right? That's interesting. I think that a lot of that could also be like, it's on the survivor, I guess. Like if you perceive that as being damaging to you, then it's not consensual, right? If you like, I don't know, if you all of a sudden say, okay, fine, like, you know, okay, and it's not damaging to you, then I guess it's okay. But that's, yeah. If someone says no, just no. You don't need to kind of push it, because their initial answer was no, it's just stay like that.
I just wanted to add on that, like, maybe the difference would be like persuasion, it happens like within a conversation, like there's no imbalance of power, it's just kind of like, let me try to change your mind, but we're both at this on the same page, right?
It's like negotiating.
Yeah,
we're like on
negotiation.
uneven playing field.
A coercion could be like, if you have like, let's say more power in the situation, or like you know something that will take them off, that would be advantageous to you, then that's using, like, being an abuse of power. So that is like, that's a difference.
Of course. Okay, so she's saying that coercion has like more power play. Persuasive is kind of like some kind of respect, but kind of like still trying to get what you want and not respecting what the other person wants.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Mary.
If you don't get consent, right, who should you report this to first, the police or the college that you're in?
Okay, so if that has to do with school, I think that you definitely should go to college, and then if you feel like this is serious enough, you should do both, because the school won't pursue it outside unless it's like unless they really find it necessary. Most of the times, when we have a case, they have like their repercussions here on campus. Then the survivor has to go ahead and do it to the police. If you really feel like this person is a threat, you should do both.
That's true. Also, I know for a lot of victims, and this is kind of going into why a lot of people don't report when they are sexually assaulted. They don't feel comfortable speaking to certain people. And, one, try to, make an effort to get to know people who you can come to. But if you have to go to someone who you feel very comfortable with first, that could be a good idea. So you can,
Have a back,
you
like
can
some
have someone to
support.
talk to,
Yeah.
someone to get the information out there. And then whether you guys go together or the other person reports or something, as long as you have to make it out there, because if you bottle it in, it'll be even more damaging. So I think, yeah.
So we have some homework, but not like bad homework. So talking about the nonverbal and verbal cues, I want you guys to go home in a sexual context and think about what are some ways that you communicate that you want to have sex, right? So how do you communicate that? And then think about what are some ways that you don't want to have sex and you communicate that. Because it's helpful to know this, because if you have a partner, you can tell them, hey, if I do this, it's because I don't want to have sex. Like, don't bug me about it. And it's like, if I do this, like, I don't want to have sex. It's like, kind of like, it's good for us to know ourselves so that way we can make it a little easier for our partners and, so they can get to know us too. So you guys want to share some ways that you guys, or some ways that you may, like, notice that someone, like, wants to have sex with you or anything like that? Like, that you notice someone's, like, flirting or whatever?
Eye contact?
Eye contact. What kind of eye contact?
Like if you're in a room full of people and someone's like just
Just staring at you, okay, this person has that. Okay. What are some ways that you can notice that the person, like, I don't know, or that you communicate that you want to? Yeah, you, Chris.
Wait, what was the question?
What are some ways that people communicate that they want to have sex, like don't want to have sex?
Wait, but it's almost like the same way, what you were saying about like if someone doesn't want to be approached, they might have their arms like this.
Okay, so like whole body language.
Yeah,
Okay.
like they just might not, even like in a group setting as well, like if someone's not facing you, they're not like interested, because that's just, I mean that's how I perceive it, not like, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so close body language, eye contact means, yes, I'm interested.
Maybe touching, maybe touching.
Mm.
Yeah, subtle, not like
Subtle, like, yeah, touching, like, hi.
subtle, yeah. Unlike safe zones. Safe zones.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
It could just be directly asking.
Directly asking, sure. Just be straightforward.